Hey, Sydney Brown back again. We're going to go into the top 10 elements to avoid to keep your lessons subtle. Now, why do you want to keep your lessons subtle? Because no one wants to be hit over the head with a lesson. No preaching. You're showing and letting your reader join in your journey where you learned. So you're subtly teaching them. Don't beat them over the head with it. Be subtle. So this is the top 10 elements to avoid. Don't do this to keep your lesson subtle. Number 1, overbearing narrator. Now, obviously, if you're saying, you shall not do this, you shall not, that's not what they want to hear. That's probably stuff they got from their parents and they rebelled against that. And you're not helping when you do that. So just don't do that. Number 2, inauthentic character reactions. So your characters should react in ways that align with their development, not just to illustrate a lesson. So, like the 3 little pigs, you have the one little pig that has his house of straw, and, he learns his lesson the hard way because his house gets blown away. In your lessons, you want to make sure that your first little pig, he learns his lesson because all of a sudden he has no protection. He is scared. He's running. And you have to, whatever your story is, make sure that it's realistic. You don't want to say, and that's why this person did this. Be real. Be realistic. If it's gritty, if it's dark, if it's scary, let that be real. Because if your reader doesn't believe it, their walls go up and you've wasted your time. Number 3, don't oversimplify complex issues. Real life is very nuanced. It's your story should be as complicated as it really was. If you're writing a memoir and you went through, we used drug addiction in another video, so I'm going to stick with that. If you used drug addiction in your story, and let's say it's a memoir, so you've gone through addiction and recovery. If you oversimplify something that's very complicated, there's so much more to something like drug addiction. You're a good person, but you got caught in something bad. You're in a bad habit. You're doing bad things, whatever that is. Make sure that you give that complexity to your character. Especially again, if it's a memoir, you should not be the hero of the story until you're on the other side. So let it be as dark as it needs to be for your reader to feel it. Number 4, moralizing. Don't put your morals on your reader. Avoid any direct moral statements. Allow the reader to infer the moral of the story, and don't don't say, and that's why you should never do drugs. Don't preach at them. No one wants to be preached at. Number 5, overused tropes. Don't do it. Be creative and original in how you convey your messages. If you use something that has been overused, your reader's going to pick it up. They're going to start reading and they're going to be, oh, okay, yeah, flip. Yeah, okay, flip. They've disengaged. You lost them because there's not enough in your story that's unique. Now, your story is absolutely unique. So don't lessen your story by trying to shortcut it or just keep it at a very high level. Let yourself go into the weeds, go into the emotions where it will be unique. Let's see, number 6, condescending tone. Oh my gosh. Treat your readers as intelligent individuals. that they're capable of understanding and interpreting your story. You don't have to spell it out like they're in kindergarten. Let them, you take them up to the edge, but let them finish that thought. Let them finish the journey. Some things you want to go very deep into the details when you're pulling them into the emotions of your story, but don't be condescending. Just don't. Number 7, repetition. Now, repetition is a good thing often, but when you repeat the same lesson over and over again, basically at that point, it just sounds like you're trying to get someone to memorize something, because that's why you would be repetitive. If you're talking about something nonfiction and you want to teach something, then you'll repeat it, because we need to hear things, 7 or 8 times before we actually digest what we're hearing sometimes. But when you're repeating a lesson over and over again, your reader's going to be like, thanks. Don't do it. Number 8, unrelated side stories. So you want to keep subplots, and subplots are a good thing, but you want to keep the subplots and the side stories relevant to the main theme, because if they go off too far either direction, you're going to lose the interest of what really matters. And that way you can, if you stay on track, you can be subtle in what you're saying. Number 9, one-dimensional characters. So what that means, characters should have the depth, the complexity, get to know them. Don't just let them be there to illustrate a single point. Your character, and if again it's a memoir, you're probably the character. So show your humanity. Show, if you bite your nails, talk about how you bit your nails. If you run around in your underwear all day and you don't want to go out of your home, don't be afraid to say things like that, because especially, and I'm going on, we're still on the storyline of a person going through some sort of an addiction. Talk about things that are relevant, that give your character depth and show your reader where you were, like the antisocial, the wherever it was. And those things that you add to give your character depth and complexity, they will potentially associate with that. And they'll be like, oh man, yeah, that's me. I'm doing that. And you're not telling them, are you doing this? You're telling them what you did. And they're recognizing it. So when you do things like that, you're really being subtle. You're not smashing anyone over the head with a lesson, and you are helping them by letting them help themselves. Number 10, neglecting the story. You're telling a story first and foremost. The lessons should be a natural part of the narrative. It should not be, here, I want to tell them don't do drugs. They're going to figure that part out when you tell your story. Now, if your story ends with, maybe a friend died from an overdose. I'm literally all just making all this up, but whatever the story is, whatever the complexity is of your individual story, you want to make sure that you're conveying all of your message through the story itself. When you do that, teaching without preaching allows the reader to get engaged and to feel what you felt, or what your story character felt. It encourages them to think, to reflect, and even kind of see the world in a different light. When you have a great story, it isn't just about what happened in the story, but it's how it affected the characters in the story. Who all was impacted by that one person's addiction journey, whatever your story is. make sure that there's complexity and that your reader will absolutely understand with a little bit of reflection that, don't do drugs, whatever your real message is. Just don't beat them up. Don't be preachy. Don't condescend. Let them take that journey for themselves. All right. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and let me know what you thought, what questions you might have in the comments below. Thanks a lot.